It can be difficult planning a holiday these days, what with cost, practicality, and concerns for the environment to consider, and because of this, it can be tempting to seek alternatives in the world of video games. After all, there's a plethora of virtual options to choose from, ranging from epic fantasy worlds to bustling sci-fi metropolises. Be warned, however, it's not all sand, sea, and sunshine out there. In fact, some opportunistic travel agencies might try and fob you off with somewhere that's likely to result in a miserable time for you and anyone you would go with. Fortunately, TripleJump are here to provide you with a list of locations to avoid, even if they're offered at a discount price. For this list, while we will be covering games across multiple genres, we're trying to focus on specific locations rather than general settings, so future or past depictions of Earth in games such as Fallout or The Last of Us will not be included, and neither will worlds from the likes of Scorn or Agony, where the entire plane of existence is a constant nightmare. With all of that nice and clear, I'm Peter from TripleJump, and here are the 10 worst video game locations to go to on holiday. Number 10. The Shivering Isles, Oblivion. The Elder Scrolls games are filled with stunning backdrops and locales. Heck, you might even take an initial look at the eerily beautiful fantasy art-inspired landscapes of Oblivion's Shivering Isles DLC and think it would be the perfect place for some natural sightseeing. Be forewarned, however, the plane of the Shivering Isles is the realm of the Daedric god Sheogorath, otherwise known as the Prince of Madness. That name alone should probably give you an idea of what to expect. The plane is split into two sections, each one representing different aspects of the human psyche. Mania, the northern half of the realm, and Dementia, the southern half. If forced to choose between the two, Mania is probably the more whimsical and light-hearted half of the land, with giant mushroom trees and beautiful bright colours. The residents are somewhat kooky, but usually harmless. Dementia, however, is the darker, more violent half, full of dull colours, foggy swamps, dead trees, and monsters. Still, there are plenty of landmarks to take a gander at, including delightful-sounding places such as Shallow Grave, the Hill of Suicides, and Corpse Rot Passage. So no nearby McDonald's then. Number 9. Necrom, Oddworld Abe's Odyssey. Despite not showcasing the friendliest wildlife in the galaxy, a safari trip to one of Oddworld's non-industrialized locations would certainly have some stunning visuals to offer. The tranquil woodlands of Paramonia or the sunset vistas of Scribania would be perfect for any budding landscape photographer out there, if only they weren't so deadly. With that in mind, why not check out Necrom, the hallowed land of the dead which appears in Oddworld Abe's Exodus. Removed from the villainous Magog cartel and their industry machine due to its unwieldy terrain, there's plenty of interesting things to see around Necrom. For example, ancient architecture and graves. Lots and lots of ancient Madocan graves. Cheerful. Oh well, I suppose the place is fairly deserted, so you'll at least have plenty of opportunities to put your feet up and read a book. However, Necrom's desertion has allowed the place to become overrun with flesh-eating fleeches, meaning you won't get much peace and quiet before their blood-sucking tongues slither out from underfoot and swallow you whole. If that doesn't turn you away, then the urine yellow hue that hangs over the place thanks to the fumes burped out by the industrial mining site just over the road probably will. Can't imagine it smells too good either. Number 8. The Iron Keep, Dark Souls 2. The Dark Souls universe isn't, shall we say, the most inviting of places, but at least there's lots of culture, architecture, and rich lore to immerse yourself in. Still, we might suggest avoiding the Iron Keep, a fortress built over a volcanic crater that's too heavy for its base and is thus sinking into lava. Gotta commend the architectural foresight there. It's not exactly the easiest location in the game to get to. Players will need to go up a lift to a volcano in the sky, and will also need high fire resist gear, max health, or to stack fire defenses to even stand a chance of avoiding instant death, let alone a severe case of sunburn. There are water urns scattered across the map and the odd pool of water to cool yourself off, true, and you stand to get your hands on some serious booty that I doubt they'll be selling in any regular gift shops by completing the scorched trails. However, the whole thing sounds like a bit of a disaster waiting to happen, if you ask us. We British don't do well in the heat, after all. Best stick to a reliable water park, like Ocarina of Time's Water Temple. No one's ever had a bad experience there, right? Number 7. Darkwater, Call of Cthulhu. What could make a British holidaymaker feel more at home than the salty ocean air of an old-fashioned seaside town? Though if you're hoping for a quiet spot to sit and eat fish and chips, you might be disappointed here. Darkwater was home to a booming whaling industry until a sudden crash in 1847. Don't worry though, because Darkwater is a town on the up, primarily due to a more recent miraculous catch credited with saving the island. Let's hope that doesn't turn out to be some sort of ancient god of doom that the townsfolk will all start blindly worshipping to bring untold horrors on us all. Even without the robed cultists skulking around the place, the islanders are suspicious of outsiders, so you might need to hide your accent. Still, there's lots of washed up and mutilated whale carcasses to look at, and hidden caves to go exploring in. But watch out for those aforementioned cultists, they like to hang out down there. Keep an eye on the weather too, as presuming you've kept your sanity intact, you may also have to contend with the nasty storm summoning the elder god Cthulhu. Crikey, and we thought our trip to Skeggy was grim. Number 6. Yamijima, Forbidden Siren 2. Usually, this is where we say, gosh, wouldn't it be miserable to spend your holiday in Silent Hill of all places, eh? However, everyone probably knows to avoid there by now, so instead we'd like to warn you about Forbidden Siren 2's Yamijima, a remote island off the coast of Japan. Although the official kanji used to write the island's name translates to night, sea, and island, Yami can also mean darkness or evil, making its name literally translate to Evil Island, not a promising omen for any tourists. Yamijima is also home to an ancient water god known as Mother, who was imprisoned below the earth millennia ago. What is it with these isolated islands and worshipping obviously evil deities? Bizarre supernatural occurrences have shifted reality on the island, leading to the mass disappearance of locals, and summoned a blood-red ocean surrounding the island that's prone to tsunamis when the island's titular siren sounds. So maybe don't bring your swimsuit. Oh, and the residents have also been transformed into zombie-like creatures that shamble around with blood dripping from their eyes and mouths. Add to this the truly horrific Yamibito monsters that appear later in the game, and you've got a recipe for a nightmare holiday. Literally. Number 5. Karuba, Time Crisis Project Titan. Alright, chances are you are not playing a time-based on-rails arcade shooter like Time Crisis Project Titan for a comfy bit of R&R. Even considering this though, we can't help but feel that the game's protagonist, Agent Richard Miller, gets the short end of the stick when he touches down at the airport in the fictional country of Karuba after being framed by an imposter for the assassination of its president. For starters, the National Guard arrives even before Richard has stepped off the plane. Then, rather than stopping to consider how it's possible for someone to arrive back into the same country they've allegedly just committed a crime in, they just start blasting away. What's worse, not only do the officials greet your arrival into their otherwise tropical-looking country with a hail of gunfire, but so do holiday makers in Hawaiian shirts and random businessmen, leading us to believe that Karuba has some serious problems with both gun control and public discipline. Thanks to the game's shoddy implementation though, sometimes these guys don't even aim and just fire in random directions, so even if you did arrive here having not just assassinated a president, it must be pretty tough getting through customs in one piece. All we can say is, the weather might be hot in Karuba, but that's probably only because everyone there is packing heat. Number 4. Lavender Town, Pokemon Red and Blue. Who wouldn't want to take a vacation in the world of Pokemon? With its whimsical setting, friendly locals, and cute animal companions, it might seem like the perfect place to get away. However, if there's one place we would avoid, it would probably be Lavender Town. Along with its blood-curdling anthem, Lavender Town has become infamous over the years for inspiring countless video game creepypastas. There's good reason for this, with the town's main attraction being a tower housing a mass grave for dead Pokemon. You can, of course, go to pay your respects, but prepare to be beset by ghosts who will render any of your defending Pokemon too scared to move. Come to think of it, we've never actually seen a Pokemon die, so the existence of Lavender Town's infamous tower raises some disturbing questions. Worryingly, the game's lore states that these Pokemon were all killed by Team Rocket, which is really rather troubling when you think about it. All this time, we thought they were just harmless idiots, but they're actually mass murderers. In more recent games, there have been efforts to modernize the town, but that doesn't mean that the place isn't still built on haunted ground. Best to steer clear, just to be on the safe side. Number 3. Oxyron, Ratchet & Clank. The first Ratchet & Clank game is filled with varied and wonderful locations, some of which might be the perfect place to get away from it all, particularly the Jowai Resort on planet Poketaru. One location we probably wouldn't recommend, however, is Oxyron, the homeworld of main antagonist and Tony Blair lookalike Chairman Drek. Drek and his alien race, the Blarg, are looking for an entirely new planet so they can vacate Oxyron due to it becoming uninhabitable. So if even the people who live there are willing to do anything, including destroy other inhabited worlds just to get off it, that should tell you all you need to know. We can't imagine why they're in such a hurry though. I mean, it's not like Oxyron is infested with deadly bugs and the whole atmosphere is literally just poisonous gas that requires you to wear a mask at all times. Oh, it is like that, is it? Okay, never mind. On top of this, Oxyron is notorious for being one of the hardest levels in the entire game, vexing Ratchet & Clank speedrunners to this day. And we doubt the aesthetic of the planet particularly helps their motivation either. Number 2. Any Planet, RimWorld. Oh, the first wildcard entry in a while! That's right, folks, we're cheating a bit and including Planetary Management Simulator RimWorld, a game with only one level that changes with each playthrough. Each RimWorld planet is generated from customizable settings, making their characteristics entirely dependent on the player. With a few adjustments, the player can decide if the planet's inhabitants want to exist on a frozen permafrost ice sheet devoid of basic minerals, a scorching desert where all biological life will struggle to survive, or anything in between, all with harsh realities thrown in for good measure. Added to this are the planetary locals, who range from aggressive tribespeople and murderous pirates to the scattered remnants of an ancient mechanoid hive that will attempt to destroy the player's colony and all the puny little flesh-based colonists in it. There's also wildlife, much of which consists of terrifying predators that will always seem to decide they fancy a human-shaped snack at the exact moment your most useless colonist is alone, away from the base, and with no hope of outrunning the animal to get back to safety. Most go on holiday to get away from arduous management tasks and physical labor, but here, the work is only just beginning. And whatever you have to do, make it snappy. There might be a solar flare coming. And number 1, Hive City Tertium, Warhammer 40k Darktide. We probably don't need to tell you that there are plenty of dangerous locations in the Warhammer 40k universe, but you might initially think you could do worse than Hive City Tertium. As the setting of FPS Warhammer 40k Darktide, Tertium is a bastion of civilization where the spires seen towering over the rest of the city are actually pretty cushy. However, even renting an Airbnb up there will require more wealth than any of us will ever see, so your only real option is to take up occupancy on the lower levels. Unfortunately, those lower levels are battered by the elements, polluted by industrialization, and are a haven for criminals. Also, best to check a review website, because some lower class properties have been known to be built atop active smelters incorrectly thought to be out of action. Oh, and the underclass of the Hive City Tertium is literally a race to the bottom, with the lowest levels currently being infested by heretic followers of the Chaos God Nurgle. Still, if you really want to go, you might snag yourself a free trip by volunteering as an acolyte to save the Hive City from the heretic uprising before it can grow any further. However, we hear that the life expectancy for this role isn't particularly long, so probably best stick to Blackpool this year, hey?